Hello everyone and welcome to our educational session. My name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized web project. The topic of this educational event today is part 2 of scenarios for upcoming artificial intelligence development from optimistic to apocalyptic. We went in part 1 in possible scenarios for development, and let's look at this presentation about the different paths which potentially this development could go. And actually there are divergent paths. They can lead in many directions, but how may this play out? It will not be life as normal one day and apocalypse the next. What would happen over time? We could actually look at three possible divergent paths for all this. Again, you may imagine other paths. I hope there are other paths, but we need to think creatively about this. If you can imagine other paths, you can write comments on this video about what you think could potentially happen. But the path number 1 is the hellscape. And what it would bring about. This path is the apocalyptic path. This is what happens if governments do not intervene. For governments to intervene, there usually needs to be demonstrations and possible revolts, if not outright revolution. And we know what happened in France in the Middle Ages when they, common people revolted, and they invented guillotines, and they cut the head of their king. This part 1 says that demonstrations and revolts were not powerful enough to make governments intervene enough, or perhaps the revolts were suppressed by the governments themselves. So some people would actually comment that starving masses tend to launch revolts, but we don't think all the AI in the world would be able to contain millions of starving people, especially in the nations like developed nations. Things may get bad, very bad, but that tends to motivate people to do something about it. So if governments are unable or unwilling to prevent massive job loss and do little to support the resulting unemployed people, then we can predict that hard-scrabble subsistence and bartering economy for most people. Then also there will be the law of the jungle beyond the wealthy enclaves, which shield wealthy people from the rest of common people. And then natural resources would be locked up by the wealthy and protected by the police, and then even the robot armies serving the rich, just as only royalty were allowed to hunt in the forest during the feudal times. So another possible path, the path number two, is the dystopia. Path two is mentioned by many thinkers and writers, um, and some people would comment that to a degree this is why AI could become the technology communists have been waiting for. The narratives of universal basic income, and you won't own anything and be happy. Highly automated labor markets could create monetary wealth that is simply redistributed by the government. So if you checked some of the Elon Musk's interviews about universal basic income in the wake of mass AI expansion. In other words, tax the AI systems and dole out salary to everyone. This actually could work. The AI would be the workers in the economy. Everyone else would be a mere consumer, except for the owners um, of the AI workforces. They would be the lords in a new kind of feudal system. As owners of natural resources, their position would be at the top of the system, and they would utilize police and military resources to protect that ownership. The government would inevitably have to become a dictatorship in order to prevent someone else from appropriating the resources and the robot factories for common use. In other words, um, workerless communism. Besides the peril and instability of dictatorships, we believe that the social climate would deteriorate dramatically in these ways. Most people, given freedom from work, would degenerate because most people do not have intellectual interests and would not fill their time well. Um, Thrill seeking and drug use would become the most common pastimes and maybe the norm of spending time. Most people would not feel useful, and most would not have a future to look forward to, except for the very, very wealthy who own the natural resources and who like uh, live like sultans competing against other super wealthy. And what would be the utopia of part number three? Um, a third possible path is that governments outlaw the replacement of humans by AI. We could actually see this happening in some countries. Those that do not would have a competitive advantage, and so they would be subject to tariffs by the others. However, every country would suffer the outcomes of one of these paths. And so, if path 3 is shown to be effective and has desirable outcomes, countries could adopt path 3 um, that could serve as a model, and others might then adopt it. This does not mean that super intelligent AI would be completely outlawed. It could only means that human jobs could not be taken by the outright by AI. Some benefits to anticipate would be the work week could be made shorter and shorter. People could work just enough to be fulfilled and would not have excess idle time. People could be empowered and feel secure. Our children would have future in which they have jobs that contribute to society and hence a feeling of productivity and self-worth. This still creates the existential risks of superintelligent AI. What is known as the control problem or the alignment problem, depending on which research you would read. So we will be addressing this as follows. So the challenges for path number 3, in order to make path 3 happen, we would need to overcome forces that are driving towards path number 1. These are, so we are in competition for more powerful AI, a race to the bottom, or more aptly, rise to oblivion. We could let up in the progress of AI until we all do so, all nations. Otherwise, those who do not keep up with it might become highly vulnerable. Those who control our economies and our governments have mostly self-interest and special interest in mind, and they will not respond to public interest without a very powerful outcry. The general public does not appreciate the risks of becoming an apocalyptic AI-driven society. This means that people need to be very forceful in telling their real leaders that we want path number 3. There need to be op-ed articles and opinions and pressure to policymakers proposing it in prominent publications and articles and direct contact with people in power. There need to be prominent people who champion this path number 3. There need to be demonstrations and strident calls for action, and advocacy groups of all kinds need to take on the issue as central to their causes, because the survival of our way of life is at stake. And not only this, but actually the survival of us humans as dominant species, and do not see or drive a future where we are replaced by AI as it becoming a dominant species in our world. So we think that there need to be a global human out AI chapter that demands that AI can be used to augment what people can do, but cannot be used to replace people instead, except for highly repetitive, dirty, or very dangerous tasks. AI reading things is not the same as personal reading things, because an AI is not a person. And so far, So fair use laws do not apply to AI. AI reading and incorporating what humans have creative, created is equivalent to copying the work wholesale. AI that generates new work after having incorporated the human produced work is in effect copying the human work. Autonomous, superhuman general intelligence is highly dangerous for humanity, and its creations and use should be prohibited, or at the very minimum restricted to AI equivalent to biohazard level 4 facilities, which are completely isolated and protected by rigid protocols. In conclusion, we are leaning for a cliff, so to speak. Time is a lot shorter than most people realize. We believe that many of our current world leaders are aware of the risks, but they're doing what they feel that their constituents expect of them. It will only be when the public demands part 2 or part 3 that leaders will take notice. People need to wake up and face this issue and start demanding a solution that leads to a global good place rather than to an apocalypse or dystopia. It used to be that we could train for a profession, get a job, raise a family, and expect that our children would do the same. And we are now in a time in which we don't know if we have actually a future, let alone future for us, let alone for our children. Let's change that. Let's define a future. Given that AI is unstoppable, let's define a future in which we can coexist and flourish together with AI. To just let things happen by their own way is to abandon our own future and like to surrender to superhuman intelligent AI becoming dominant species and replacing us human as dominant species in the world. And with this said, I'm ending this presentation and I'm coming back to this presentation, to the beginning of this presentation, when I told you that my name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project and several other projects. In the Decentralized Web project, we're building decentralized communication and advertising platform. It's monetized through advertising and it has its own blockchain instance, and this blockchain instance provides tokens for users who are joining our Decentralized Web project. Tokens are also rewarded for existing users, inviting new people to become users on our platform, and tokens are rewarded for users viewing advertising on our platform. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of the website of the project. It is decentralizedweb.org. Decentralized and web, these are two words. They're typed all together. Decentralized web. And then there's dot and it ends with org. The meaning of decentralization we put in this project is different than the meaning put by blockchain technology. We believe that blockchain technology has multiple and fundamental flaws which prevents it from beginning a driver of decentralization. In our implementation of decentralization, what we do is we allow direct communication from user to user without going through a third party which collects information and then it distributes it to the user. Once again, in our implementation of decentralization, the communication between users is direct without going through a third party, namely a server or a collection point which collects and distributes back information to users. With this said, I'm going to the next project that we're working on, and we did release. In this project, we did build a marketplace and collection of non-fungible tokens, and these non-fungible tokens are based on three-dimensional objects. With three-dimensional objects, there has to be special software which reads the 3D object, and then it displays the 3D object on a computer screen. So from the very beginning, we decided to build this special software, and which reads and displays the 3D object. And what it does, it reads the file, then it opens a window. Then this 3D software engine that we built displays the 3D object, and then our 3D software engine starts animating the 3D object and 3D NFT in a way of moving it in a random fashion around the screen it did open. But in addition to these basic capabilities, our 3D software engine has multiple additional capabilities. The first additional capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of speaking. Our 3D NFTs can speak in one of three different voices. The 3D NFTs can speak either in a male voice or in a female voice or in a whisper kind of a voice. In addition to the three basic voices, there are three different flavors of voices. A voice can be spoken either in a normal speed fashion, or in a fast speed fashion, or in a slow speed fashion. The next additional and important capability of our 3D software engine is the capability of voice recognition. If, for example, you have a 3D NFT which is moving in a random fashion around a screen, being animated, then we can issue our very first voice command to the 3D NFT to stop moving. And then the 3D NFT is going to stand still and stop moving. We can issue following voice commands to the 3D NFT to move left, move right, move up, move down, zoom in, zoom out, rotate. And then the 3D NFT is going to fulfill each one of these separate voice commands and move left, then move right, move up, then move down, come closer, zoom in, go further away, zoom out, and start rotating. The next additional and important capability of our 3D software engine is the capability of them having basic artificial intelligence. Wow, really wow. The 3D NFTs, you can ask the 3D NFT what is your name, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply with their name. You can ask the 3D NFT to who are you, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply with who they are. You can ask the 3D NFT to describe something, and then the 3D NFT is going to describe in few sentences about who they what you asked. The last additional but not least important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of them being displayed in a way of stereoscopics. What stereoscopics means is that part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in red or reddish colors, and another part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in blue or cyan color. Then you can come to our 3D NFT marketplace website, and now is the time to tell you the name and the URL of the website. It is 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. 3dnft is typed in a way of the number 3 followed by the letter D followed by 3 other letters N, F, T, and it is typed all together 3D NFT. Then there is dot, then there are two words, decentralized and web. Then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. On the top of the main page and all of the other pages, you can see a number of links. One of these links points to links to accessories, and when you click on this link, you're going to see that we are offering special glasses. When you order one pair of these glasses, you're going to see that one lens of these glasses is red and the other lens of these glasses is blue cyan. When you receive these glasses and put these glasses on and request displaying of the 3D NFTs in a way of stereoscopics, you can see the 3D NFT is coming out of the flat two-dimensional computer screen, and you're going to see it in real 3 dimensions. With this set, I'm ending talking about our 3D software engine and our collection of the 3D NFTs. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our 3D NFT marketplace. In our 3D NFT marketplace, we have our own blockchain instance, and this blockchain instance runs the same software which runs on Ethereum mainnet, it runs on Binance Smart Chain, it runs on Polygon Matic Chain, it runs on Avalanche Avax Chain, and it runs on many other famous or not so famous blockchains. In addition to by having our own blockchain instance, then we do not charge our users for deployments of the smart contracts for the non-fungible tokens, and we do not charge our users for transactions of transfer of the 3D NFTs from one user to another user. With this said, I like to tell you that we allow purchase and receive proceedings from sale, not just with one crypto coins, as ordinary NFT makers allow, but in multiple crypto coins. Currently, the choice is for buying and selling, receiving proceedings from sale of 3D NFTs include 4 different coins, and there are Solana Sol, Polygon Matic, Avalanche Avax, and Qcoin, which is a big centralized crypto exchange. They have a coin called KCS. With this set, I like to tell you that we have a second parallel and independent way of buying and selling of 3D NFTs, and it is done entirely in fiat currency. When you come to the 3D NFT marketplace and browse through the collection of the 3D NFTs, when you click on one 3D NFT that you like and want to purchase, then you're going to be presented with the drop-down menu which asks you to select between a method of purchase between 4 different crypto coins and the 5th choice of paying with fiat currency. When you select paying with fiat currency, Then you're going to, on the next screen, you're going to be presented with a screen where you can put the number of your debit or credit card, expiration date, CVC, and when you click on the button to make the payment, what is going to happen is there is going to be a transaction and conversion from your national fiat currency to US dollars, and the payment is going to be deposited in our bank account in US dollars. Then we're going to follow this with a transaction and transfer of the initial ownership from our 3D NFT marketplace to you, and now you become owner of this 3D NFT. You can play with this 3D NFT for a while, and then you can put this 3D NFT for sale. So let's say there's another user who comes to the marketplace, they browse through the 3D NFTs, and they see and like in particular the 3D NFT that you put for sale. The second user is going to go through the same motions of selecting a method of payment between crypto coins and fiat currency. So let's say they select payment with fiat currency, then they put their debit and credit card expiration date, CVC, and they make the payment for the purchase for the 3D NFTs. So what is going to happen then is there's going to be a conversion from the national fiat currency of the second user, which could be different than the national fiat currency of you and different than US dollars. And this transaction is going to be deposited in our bank account in US dollars. Then we're going to make a transaction and transfer of the ownership from you to the second user, and now the second user becomes owner of this 3D NFT. Then we're going to make a transaction and transfer and conversion from US dollars to your national fiat currency, and the payment for the purchase of 3D, for the sale of the 3D NFT, is going to be deposited in your bank account in your national fiat currency. With this said, I'm ending talking about the second project. I'd like to mention the third project that we are working on, and this project builds charging products for electric vehicles. With electric vehicles, we estimate that there's going to be exponential growth of electric vehicles, and the way electric vehicles are charged is ultimately going to become insufficient for this exponential growing number of electric vehicles. Currently, the way of charging of electric vehicles, besides owners living in houses, is that electric vehicles owners are coming to places resembling gas stations, and these are charging stations with several columns of chargers, and the owners of electric vehicles, they're connecting electric cable to their electric vehicle. They identify themselves to the charger with their debit or credit card. They request and start charging energy in their electric vehicle. They stay for a while their electric vehicle is charging, and then they pay for the energy loaded in their vehicle, and then they leave these charging stations. But we estimate that the number of these charging stations is going to become ultimately insufficient, and we're proposing a model which We call it parking lot model. With many of the owners of electric vehicles, they live in high-rise residential buildings, and these high-rise residential buildings are outfitted with a ground floor parking lot or multiple underground floors of parking lots. So owners of electric vehicles which are living in residential apartment buildings, when they come in the evening and park their vehicle in the parking lot, outfitted with the types of products that we're building, could connect electric cable to their electric vehicle. They could identify themselves to the charger with their debit card, credit card, or near field communication card, or near field communication keychain token, or near field communication ring that they're wearing on their finger. They can request loading energy into their electric vehicle, and they can leave their vehicle to charge during the evening, during the night, and early morning while they're at home. But many of these owners of electric vehicles are also working in high-rise office buildings. And high-rise office buildings, if they're outfitted with the type of products that we're building, could be like owners of electric vehicles. When they come in the morning for work, they could connect electric cable to their electric vehicle. They can identify themselves to the charger in the way I did describe, and they could start loading energy during the morning, afternoon, and early evening while they're at work in the office building, high-rise office building. With this said, I like to tell you the name and the URL of the website of this project. It is power.rstack.com. Power is the ordinary word for power, then there is dot, then there is a word which I can spell it letter by letter. It is Alpha Romeo Sierra Tom Echo Charlie Hotel. Altogether, rstack, then there is dot, and it ends with com. Once again, power.rstack.com. On the main page of the website, we put 3 different surveys which you can fill and tell us about your needs for charging products. And we could modify existing products to fit your needs, or we can build new products. And also we put on the main page a link to an article, and this article is titled Gas Station Model versus Parking Lot Model, and it describes in very big details about the need for the type of products that we're building, the details of the products that we're building, and also describes the difference in the 2 models. With this said, I'm going to the next project that we did recently released. It is this project builds AI agents, and these AI agents are based on different large language models, like if you can imagine 2 different artificial intelligence agents, and these AI agents each are outfitted with their own gender, their own avatar, and their own like voice which they um, could be speaking. And you, the user, could put the initial request for interaction between two different AI entities. And for example, you can request AI number one to have female gender, female avatars, and voice, and the second AI entity to have male avatar, male voice, and um, like then you can request AI number one to be very seductive, and request the AI number two to be very angry. And when you click to start this interaction, then you're going to be just an observer and be entertained of the interaction between, as we gave an example, female AI entity trying to seduce male AI entity, which then could respond in an angry way to this female AI entity. But you, the user, could request many different interactions, and also you can share these interactions that you enjoy in particular on our website. You can share the parameters of the interaction, but the interaction itself is not going to be exactly the same for other users, because AIs do not like repeating themselves. So different AI users could see this, could request this use these parameters to request interactions, and they could see a similar but not exactly the same interaction to the one you did enjoy in particular. With this said, I'm going to the last project that we're working on. This last project does not have a website yet, and this last project is building something similar to what OpenAI company is building, namely a web browser with AI entity behind it. But we do not are going to not going to release a whole web browser. We are going to release just a program which is going to look at your interactions, the interactions you do in a web browser, and then it is going to automate these interactions. And the next time you an interaction with which was grouped and labeled in a particular way, the next time you can mention that you mentioned this label, state this interaction and state this label, and then the AI entity is going to go step by step through the automated interactions, and it is going to give you the result. What this automation could bring is, for example, purchasing for particular food item from a particular food store, or requesting tickets for a concert from a particular venue which is going to have a concert of a specific singer, or request, for example, purchasing of an airline ticket for travel to a specific destination at a specific day and time. With this said, I'm ending this presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening, and goodbye.